Asia CEO is really a sought-after brand and recognition among the private sector. I work abroad as an OFW, and I've seen the experience of how Filipino were treated that time. So I always thought of creating an event someday to really recognize Filipinos and also market Philippines.
Let's present Philippines in a positive light. And the goal is expand your business, start your business, move your business to Philippines, hire Filipinos. They're good people to work with, and you'll do well. That's the goal.
Way back when we were the poor or sick country of Asia, and now if you take a look at, for example, the BPO industry, we're number one in the world. There's a lot of potential for the country, and if we are really going to see fruition that we are going to be one of the top economies by 2050, I think it is very important for us to really pull our resources together.
And we always believe from the beginning that this association was the right medium, the right structure, and the right outfit to really put the Philippine business community on top of the agenda for the Filipino people and also for the international community.
Well, it gives me a fantastic insight in terms of how broad the industries are and how many different types of successes that are contributing to the growth and inclusive growth of this nation.
We have to create a future where our next generation of talent and leaders is prepared for all the new opportunities that will present themselves.
Asia CEO Forum is very unique because it is more than any other forum emphasizing that this is about nation building.
Economic growth is a very wide subject, and Asia CEO Forum always find the right angle with the right topic at the right time to talk about, and that's why there is such attraction to these events.
They connect people, but they also create a platform for transfer of best practices, best knowledge.
I believe in the vision of Richard and Rebecca. I think they have this vision to help make the Philippines a first world country in 2030.
And with our partnership together, I know that we're achieving a lot of things.
Thank you for what you're doing. We applaud your efforts. We're proud and happy to be your partners.
We encourage other companies to join in and be a sponsor, and it will, I'm very, very sure that we'll find it worthwhile.
Multisys Technologies Corporation is your one-stop system provider. We do advanced systems research and development, focus on evolving assets of IT systems, platforms, and software solutions. We show integrated set of programs and solutions that drive businesses nowadays. Backed by our R&D team, we are able to customize solutions according to your business requirements with speed, accuracy, and efficiency. In our efforts to help Filipinos' way of life through digital innovations and transformation, we partnered with IT companies, system contractors, government agencies, big conglomerates, small and medium enterprises, and tech startups as well. We go above and beyond partnerships. It's a teamwork, and we make sure that your business and ours grow together. We find success in every collaboration and establish meaningful connections. That's why we want to partner with you. Here at Multisys, we empower your business. Multisys is a one-stop software company. So instead of you talking to too many integrators, you'll be able to come up with a centralized and automated way of doing things. We have a team that really move like one. So they are really united. So instead of one programmer, one system approach, I think multiple programmers joining force together, they can collaborate easily. We have have speed, we have accuracy, we have efficiency. I think that's the secret of the group. That's why companies love to work with us. It will be faster for them. It will be more efficient to develop and deploy a certain system. Right now, we have more than 70 programmers. And most of them, they are full stack developers. They have like 5 positions in one person. They are a designer, they are a coder or programmer, they are a systems analyst, they are a quality control expert, and they're a UI and UX expert as well. That skill is not easy to really somehow have in one programmer. Multisys can really customize the system. We can customize it according to their needs, design for their own and existing process flows. We're all racing against the clock. Priority of Multisys is to elevate the lifestyle of every Filipino by delivering automated, integrated systems to make sure that we can fast-track the operation, processes. 'Cause I'm about to end, I think it's all about how fast can you deliver a certain technology. Speed matters nowadays. Sabi nga sa Tagalog, diba, daig ng maagap ang masipag. That's why we develop futuristic systems. What we do is that we predict the future, we develop, and then the moment that we are partnered with a certain entity, we're able to show them a live system. It's not a PowerPoint presentation. It will be a prototype, it will be a working system. So this will give them an idea how to solve a problem. This will give them an idea to expedite their processes. So not only showing them a vision, but showing them a solution already. We develop end-to-end solutions for 8 industries now. And we would like to automate other industries as well. Currently, we have an end-to-end solution for information technology businesses, okay, ERPs. We have e-government solutions, healthcare, an end-to-end solution for utility, whether you are an electric company, a water utility company, a telco, or a cable utility company. We do also retail, hospitality, academe, and of course, the new one is the banking and finance. Here at Multisys, we empower your business.
Please welcome Father William Bustamante, Parish Priest, ina ng laging saklolo, Tagaytay City, to lead us with the invocation.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. All-powerful and believing God, who always acts for the success of each and everyone, and of our nation as a whole, you have prepared a bright future for all of us. We thank you for always being at work in our lives, for leading us and supporting us amidst this difficult moment of our history. Now, in a special way, we are grateful that you have gathered us in this event to hear and learn from people who have in a special way experienced your divine providence in the business sector, to teach us and to serve as our inspiration in our actions amidst the challenges of the present time. We believe in your goodness. We are placing our confidence in your providence. We pray that what we do may always have your blessing as we strive and continue to walk and move forward. As we celebrate your kindness and generosity, together we implore you, O Lord, to continue strengthening us, inspiring us, and uniting us as we journey as one towards a prosperous nation. Let your Spirit guide all our actions. Allow the spirit of cooperation and concern to always inflame each one of us as we work together in achieving the best for our country. May we always filled with joy and thanksgiving in all our endeavors, knowing that you're always at work in us. With hearts full of gratitude and jubilation, we ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Digital transformation is about playing a different game.
It is important to realize that for it to be successful, you need to consider the human factor first.
Customer behavior shifts are the main drivers of transformation.
But you look left, you look right, and assess all the other possible opportunities.
The key ingredient is to all of these, the people.
Bring all of this together of the business problem and challenges and bring it together in an opportunity.
Collaborating with our partners has been a huge contributor to our success.
Your job as an entrepreneur right now is to discover the opportunities.
To provide, first, a digital identity.
We've been building capabilities, whether we've taken the time to notice them or not.
MSMEs bravely pivoted online.
Digital transformation is real.
Welcome to Asia Tech Forum 2021 Online Edition. Please welcome Mr. Richard Mills.
Welcome to Asia Tech Forum 2021, and what a show we will have. This has become, because of the COVID crisis, I guess, this has become such a high-profile event and subject. So speakers we have include Secretary Gringo Honasan, the current Secretary of DICT, Ding Dong Dantes, who every Filipino knows as, one of the highest profile celebrities in the nation, the head of Microsoft, the head of Multisys Technologies. So we've got a really big show and a really important message because we really believe in technology as the future for this nation. So we want you to not just survive the future, but to really prosper. If the nation is to be a first world nation, as we all want it to be, technology will be the key. So stay with us. So pleased to have you with us for Asia Tech Forum 2021. Let's go. Okay, to start off the event, we have a special guest from Singapore who does work across the Asia region in particular, but also the world, and has worked with large companies in Philippines to help them with digital transformation. Scaling Up is the company name, and what he does for companies is using digital transformation to really accelerate their businesses. So it's good to hear from a guy who's not just talking technology, but actually making it a business transformational tool. So really pleased to have him, and seems like a heck of a nice guy. So please welcome Jeremy Han to the show. Glad to have you, Jeremy.
Thank you for everyone for having me here, and thank you, Richard, for introducing me. So I want to talk about how do we create a 10 times or exponential advantage over our competition with digital transformation. Now, I think this is very important because so many companies talk about digital transformation, but they don't have a context, right? Where do we apply our digital transformation? And this becomes a problem because companies are like running around like a chicken without a head, right? In how they should apply digital transformation. I think we all start with this question of how do we scale the business? And we also ask this question, where are our constraints? You see, every business wants to scale, but every business at the same time has constraints. So where do we put this digital transformation is really to put this digital transformation in this context of how do we use digital transformation to break our constraints. So if you look at the picture below here, you see a guy trying to break the constraints so that he could gain his freedom, right? I think that's what a lot of companies need to do. Look at our constraints and ask ourselves, how do we break these constraints? So I want to share you a case study of this fashion business that I work with, right? This is more than a 60-year-old company. It's a listed company. And in this earlier part of the year, we were doing our annual planning. And we were asking this question, how do we scale the business? How do we be 10 times better than our competitors? And we started by looking at the constraints, right? And we asked ourselves, what is the constraints for a fashion business? And the constraints is really about how many designs can we put out every season. And then we came to this conclusion that to break this constraint, we need to address the question of how many designers do we have? Because the number of designers you have will determine the number of designs you can create for every season. And we asked ourselves this question, how many design schools are there across the country? right? If we can tap into these design schools and get them to design for our business, then we can break the constraints on the number of designers we have in-house, because the number of designers every company has is a constraint because it's a heavy cost for the business. Now, the interesting thing is this. When you get these people to design, these design schools to design for us in a competition, what also happens is that you get the crowd to vote which designs that they like. And this solves the second constraint for fashion companies. And that is, how do I know that my designs are going to be accepted for every season, right? That's a huge uncertainty for business, because you can design something you think is nice, and when you produce it and send it out, nobody wants to buy it, right? That's a huge problem for business. So looking at this, what I think is interesting is digital transformation in this case is really not so much about what is those expensive new technologies that we need to invest, which is a problem because a lot of companies think that heavy technology investment is a hindrance or an obstacle to their digital transformation. But to run these online competitions, to tap into the crowd, you don't need a lot of expensive technology. In fact, all the technology platforms are already there. You can use most of the social media platforms that you have to run these competitions and get the crowd involved. Now, the only challenge is this, is to switch from a traditional B2B thinking to a B2C thinking. Even though this business is a B2B business for the last 60 years, and it is still a B2B business, but it has to change the way it thinks first about its constraints before they can ask themselves what technology or what platforms actually make sense for us. So digital transformation, I would like to sum up in these two quotes, is really about transforming your business model first. So on the left, we have Clay Christensen, the late Clay Christensen, great professor, really love his thoughts. He says that most companies think that the key to growth is to create new technologies and products, but actually that's not true. To unlock this growth is really about embedding this technology and innovative thinking into a business model. And the other thought leader here, David Rogers, I really love his book, The Digital Transformation Playbook, right? I think this is absolutely a book everybody needs to read about digital transformation. And he says this, digital transformation is not about technology. Doesn't that sound like weird, right? Then what it is about? It is about strategy and new ways of thinking. It is about transforming our strategic mindset first, more than upgrading our technology. We have to upgrade the way we think about our business and our strategy in a digital world. So I really like these two quotes because it helps us to sum up what digital transformation really is and help us not to focus on the wrong things. I want to just end off with a story of a company who spent $150 million US dollars on digital transformation 3 years ago, and lately they declared it was a failure. Why? Because 3 years ago, when they started this digital transformation journey, the CEO was asked this question, what does digital transformation mean to you? And he said, digital transformation is about putting a rocket on a turtle. Now, you put a rocket on a turtle to make the turtle go faster, the turtle is still a turtle. Nothing really changed. The business model has not changed. But if you look at the other picture here, you have got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that's what I would like you to remember. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are an evolved form of turtles. They may still be turtles, but they have got supernatural powers, right? They behave and act like human beings, even though they're turtles. So digital transformation is really not about putting technology just to make an old business model go faster. It is really about the evolution, the transformation to become a much better, much powerful version of your business. And that requires, first and foremost, a new way of thinking before we invest and put money into the technology. And remember, it doesn't have to be expensive. You can always start with what technology is already out there, provided the way we think about the business has changed. So, what's wrong with this picture? What do you think is wrong with this picture? I love this picture, right? Because everybody will just point out and say that these Roman soldiers are not supposed to be having machine guns, right? And I think this really sums up my presentation today about digital transformation. The digital transformation is about playing a different game. it's not just about technology. It is really about playing a different game. And this game starts off with this question of, how do I scale the business by breaking my constraints? And if I can break my constraints and my competitors continue to live with these constraints, that's how we gain a 10-time or an exponential advantage over our competitors. And technology is just a tool, but the key thing is we have to understand it is about playing a totally different game. So my friends, thank you very much for giving me this time to share with you in this morning. And I would like to continue this conversation with you. My name is Jeremy Han. I'm a scaling up coach. I work with companies across the Asia Pacific region, helping them to scale, including many companies in the Philippines. And if you would like to continue this conversation with me on digital transformation, let's get in touch on LinkedIn. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Yeah, well done. So keep up the great work you're doing, particularly in Philippines, but all over. Let's get going with our next speaker is Arturo Quinto Jr. He is the Group Technology Officer of Magsaysay, Inc. And if you don't know, this is a very large group of companies. They handle something like 60,000 seafarers, among other people who really do run ships around the world. So if you've ever bought something from China, you can bet, I would say Magsaysay had something to do with this, because their people run and manage so many ships throughout the world, and they have offices around the world that Arturo also looks after. So we're so pleased to have him. It's a very prominent Philippine company that is a true multinational company, but based in Philippines. So we're so glad to have the Group Technology Officer, Arturo Quinto Jr. So glad to have you, Arturo. Welcome.
Hi, Richard. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the great introduction. I appreciate it. COVID-19 pandemic forced us to adapt and transform how we engage with our customers. I think for the organization to survive, this is the only way to move forward. When we talk about digital transformation, it is important to realize that for it to be successful, you need to consider the human factor first. I've gained quite a perspective on just how difficult true digital transformation really is and what it takes to succeed. I strongly believe that no matter how ironic it may sound, it doesn't really start with the technology, but rather it's all about people. For you to drive the vision, it requires talent, IT professionals that will handle the technology and data, good process people, and of course, leaders that can influence and communicate change to the organization. You need to bring these people working together, and by doing that, now you really have a higher success rate to accomplish this. If we dissect each area further, when it comes to technology, whether it would be from AI, AR, RPA, machine learning, IoT, blockchain, data lakes, all of these technologies have become easier to use. However, the main key here is you need a very good sound decision in terms of how any of this particular technology be adapted to the specific business needs. In terms of data, this can be a little complex, especially if you're still maintaining and coming from legacy systems that most of its data is not optimized quality-wise. It will also limit the potential of the technology you want to apply. Let's say, for example, deployment of efficient AI models will be a great challenge using bad data. We always hear that data is important. It sure is. But still, most companies don't realize its true potential in driving their business through analytics. At least not in the league or scale of Google, Amazon, or Facebook. This can only be achieved if you have quality data. This is a shared responsibility with frontliners or data creators in a way to improve their own work processes to ensure data is created correctly. Process owners must also have an open mind in rethinking the ways they engage with the customer and their needs. Without this mindset, the result of the digital transformation will be limited to incremental improvements rather than radical and truly transformative re-engineering of the process. This includes organizational change and other elements of change management. What I've learned is for them to remain focused and maximize resources in accomplishing one initiative at a time. Technology is the engine of digital transformation, but what drives it are the people or the talent you have in the organization. It's really a marathon to attract and maintain good talents for each domain that will bring transformation using technology. It's really a very exciting time, especially for IT or tech professionals. Businesses, both existing and new, are creating solutions that will ultimately improve and solve pain points of customers in various industries. Customers or customer experience is really the core of digital transformation. It starts and ends with the customer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Arturo. That was interesting, and keep up the great work at Magsaysay Group. All right, our next speaker is Nico Alcoceba, the VP and head of the ICT business group for PLDT Enterprise, and he oversees this newly created group responsible for PLDT's SMAC portfolio, that stands for Social Mobility Analytics and Cloud and Security. So all disruptive, real innovative technologies at PLDT. So really pleased to have Nico part of this group. Nico Alcoceba of PLDT Enterprise. Glad to have you, Nico.
First of all, congratulations to Richard and his team for the successful turnout in this virtual event. On behalf of PLDT Enterprise, thank you for inviting us to be part of this discussion today. For the next 10 minutes or so, we hope to provide context on trends we are seeing among our customers, insights we've gathered from our interactions with them, as well as from market movements globally and locally, and finally, some best practice ways forward that have emerged as imperatives to thriving in this new business environment. To begin, economists continue to monitor the different models of economic recovery around the globe. We hear them talk a lot about a variety of scenarios, specifically the alphabet-shaped recovery models like V, U, L, and others. But apparently, a dominant K-shaped recovery curve seems to be unfolding. This model paints a more realistic, but unfortunately, a more unpleasant picture. A K-shaped recovery curve occurs when different parts of the economy recover from a recession at different paces. It could be that different industries recover at different speeds, or different income strata recover at varying degrees. Both the World Economic Forum and JP Morgan Chase, in fact, alluded to this K-shaped recovery in separate studies. But this is where it gets interesting. McKinsey released a paper on through-cycle outperformers, or simply put, companies that thrived through a crisis. And it was no surprise that companies which thrived were those who invested in critical capabilities that enabled them to shift to a digital operation in its many varying forms. As we now face the road of recovery and recommit to our long-term aspirations by being stubborn on our vision, yet flexible on the details, an overarching theme has emerged to accelerate this recovery. And this theme is to adopt a business outcome-led and tech-enabled digital strategy. In thinking about this tech-enabled strategy, there are many variables that we should consider and a whole spectrum of technology solutions that can be implemented. From our experience though this past year, the following are insights we have gleaned from our customer interactions and market scans. First, contactless is the now normal. Next, organizations need to get phygital. And third, business resilience is now front and center. Contactless is now hygiene, both literally due to our hyper-awareness on safety and health, and figuratively, since it has become part of how we transact and how we perform our work in the digital space. And as we put our customers at the center of how we transform our businesses, building customer experience with a contactless mindset should take into consideration consumer personas that have emerged from this past year. A Deloitte study shows that there seem to be 4 new types. First, shut-in shoppers. So these are customers who will primarily continue to transact online as much as they can and expect fast delivery of goods and remote activation of services with a great value for money mindset. Next, touchless store experiencers. These are customers who would want an immersive in-store experience but still avoid human interaction as much as possible. And third, drive-through customers. So these are consumers who prefer short purchase journeys. They value speed and simplicity and do not mind features that are completely devoid of human contact. And last, virtual patrons. So these are the most sophisticated. They repurpose their homes as an integrated destination. They want brands that help them live the virtual experience without leaving their home and are willing to pay a premium for such an experience. We cannot and we should not aim to be everything to everyone. The key is choosing which personas we would like to target and then targeting new, unique value propositions for these customers. And this foray into contactless goes beyond digital payments, but delves into hybrid operations. As we migrated from brick and mortar to digital, today we move forward into bricks and clicks, or a combination of physical and digital, what is now coined as phygital. As the economy reopens and our customers begin to feel safer going out of their homes, they will be looking for experiences that combine the efficiency, immediacy, and safety of digital with the certainty, immersiveness, and connectedness of physical. We must therefore be ready to deliver this phygital experience for them. And if we look to companies that have successfully transitioned into phygital, there are certain characteristics that have been keys to their success. First, and as mentioned earlier, they understand consumer personas and tailor experiences for them. In looking at new business strategies, operational processes, and technology investments, customer behavior shifts are the main drivers of transformation. And the expectation today is that we are able to customize experiences for users. The days of marketing to one segment have given way to marketing to a segment of one. Second, they tie all ends for a seamless experience. One of the results of the digital shift is that customers now expect experiences that are immediate. And a manual approach to consummate a purchase or having to get back to customers on inventory availability or delivery lead times in today's on-demand economy will result in customer fallout and opportunity loss. Therefore, the importance of tying in the front-end customer touchpoints, back-end operations infrastructure, and far-end partner ecosystem is key to make this experience a positive one, especially as your business scales. And third, they invest in core capability and divest of periphery activities. Given how fast the marketplace is evolving and how hyperactive competition has become, an intense focus on core business operations while strategically engaging with best-in-class technology partners has allowed companies to scale both revenues and capabilities rapidly while optimizing on costs. Contactless and phygital both require new ways of thinking, new ways of working, and new ways of operating. All these are underpinned by strong digital technology enablement, which also means digital systems become central to our operation, and the criticality of resilience, therefore, rises in the strategic agenda. It used to be that business resilience was an afterthought and seen as insurance needed just in case. The pandemic has taught us, however, that the volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, or VUCA world we had thought of in theory in the past is definitely here line of sight with us today and will continue to be with us into the future. Given this, there are 4 principles that constitute best practice in resilience. First, put mission-critical applications in mission-critical infrastructure. Gone are the days when proximity means security. In the advent of increasingly unpredictable weather patterns, unforeseeable natural disasters, and unintended or intended man-made catastrophes, housing your critical systems via co-location in data centers designed to withstand these types of occurrences gives you peace of mind that your business will continue to run and your customers will continue to be served. Next, build in agility into your operation. Given how market forces can change, how uncertain consumer behaviors are, and how adaptability has become a no-compromise organizational capability, the agility to iterate and execute is of utmost importance. This is what cloud solutions allow companies to do. Due to its on-demand consumption nature, customers enjoy increased agility, faster time to market, and even lower total cost of ownership if architected and implemented properly with the right partner. Third, automate for scale. Manual processes across various functional areas are not only error-prone and inefficient, they are costly and degrade customer experience. In prioritizing the areas to automate first, begin with activities in the company's value chain which have direct interaction and impact to how we engage and service our customers. Examples would be enterprise resource planning systems that include inventory management, as well as customer relationship management systems that enable single customer view as well as personalized digital interaction. Finally, protect the perimeterless environment. The world we live in, the world we work in, our homes, our workplace has become perimeterless. This newfound virtual ground also equates to a larger surface area of vulnerability, and if inadequately protected, the risk of a cyber attack and data breach becomes more apparent. Attackers constantly evolve their tactics to compromise systems, and they exploit, their favorite to exploit is the weakest link, the human element. As they say, every company has at least one employee that will click on anything. Given this complex threat environment, organizations need to be cyber resilient, which means being able to recover quickly in case of a successful attack and minimize any effect to operations and customers. In order to effectively protect this perimeterless environment, a company must execute a multi-layered approach to cybersecurity, which is enabled by a holistic framework that covers protection, prevention, detection, and response. In summary, a trend has emerged where the world is experiencing a K-shaped recovery. And studies have shown that those who have thrived are companies that invested in critical capabilities such as digital. In thinking about your business outcome-led and technology-enabled digital strategy, consider three important insights. First, contactless is the now normal. Second, organizations need to get phygital. And finally, business resilience is now front and center. On behalf of PLDT Enterprise, thank you for your time and attention. I hope these few minutes have provided some insight into how you can rethink your businesses and reimagine how you operate and engage with customers and employees. Our vision is to make a positive impact on every single business and provide solutions that enable you to thrive and be unbreakable. We look forward to engaging with you as we all dive back into our own next normals and contribute in our own ways to the economic recovery of the country.
Okay, Nico, thank you. And yes, that K-shaped rebound, that is an interesting one that I'm going to have to read more about. So thank you again, Nico. Glad to see you again in the future, too. We're always pleased to have our next speaker, Donald Patrick Lim. His current impressive role is the Chief Innovation Officer of Udena, which is certainly a high-flying operation with companies in various sectors with operations across the country. So Donald has a very good background. He's really moved up his career. Former country CEO of Dentsu Aegis, Chief Digital Officer of ABS-CBN, Managing Director of MRM Manila, and so on. He's really got a high-flying career and such a nice fellow and always a good speaker. So we're really pleased to have an update from him. Please welcome Donald Patrick Lim. So glad to have you, Donald.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for having me again. Always appreciate meeting up with you again, Richard, and all the other high flyers in the Asia CEO Forum. No, I think we've got a good network going together already amongst us. The reality is, while we see a lot of good stuff that is coming out in some of the news, very optimistic, I would always say that it's all about also anchoring on what is the reality and also how do we move up and prepare our organization. That's why I term it leading the new normal. As what Richard said, I'm part of the Udena Group. We are actually a conglomerate. Our flagship is Phoenix. So retail stores, we have Family Mart. Our retail, we have Condis and Wendy's. We have a school. We're in logistics and shipping, property management, gaming, tourism. I'm with Dito CME. So Dito CME actually handles the third telco and among many other digital businesses of the entire Udena Group. So let me start my presentation with one of my favorite quote by Rahm Emanuel, and he said, he's a former mayor of Chicago, and he said, "You never let a serious crisis go to waste." And what I mean by that is an opportunity to do things you could not do before. For the past 20 years, we've seen the economic boom. We've seen a lot of businesses wanting to be very aggressive, expansion. But I think 2020 is something that especially the last year, is something for all of us to go back and reflect on what we really want to do. Sometimes we became very busy moving forward. We forgot to take stock on what we have and what we should be doing. In a sense, going back to fundamentals and going back to the basics. Moss last year actually gave a very interesting quote on the COVID, and he said, it's a challenge like many of us have never seen before. The circumstances are taking us beyond our knowledge and capabilities. There's an avalanche of information, but hard to know what is correct. There are competing priorities: keeping people healthy versus keeping the business going. It's a highly dynamic situation. It changes by the minute, and the endpoint is not at all clear. Even up to now, while many people are getting their vaccines, we still don't know when will we be going back to work, and things will be going, back to pre-COVID times. So high uncertainty and high stakes. Many of us have been, trying to keep our business afloat given all of what's happening. And for most of us in the business and the management segment, of course, for not only us but all of us, decisions have to be made under stress and in real time. And having said that, if we look at the industry, many businesses, especially the smaller ones, are really closing down. They're closed service because of the COVID-19. Sorry, we're closed until end of the outbreak. If you just Google business closures COVID, you will see so many articles about it. Here in the country, of course, Marco Polo, the big ones, who you thought would be not only the smaller ones were not spared, even the bigger ones decided to stop a bit, right, and recheck what they should be doing. Again, these are some of the top articles when I Googled. For Honda, one Isuzu dealership closed. And closing is not a bad thing. It's actually, again, it's all about taking stock. And that's why we said 2020 was what we call the Great Pause. Work may not have slowed down if we can help it. However, the extended lockdown period has restricted physically visiting the workplace for many, socialization, travel, and general recreation. From the fast pace that governed our days and weekends, these restrictions have forced us to slow down what some would have called the Great Pause. This period will change how we move, work, learn, live, travel, play, govern. It will change everything. And that is why in the history books, the COVID-19 pandemic will be named along with the world wars, the Industrial Revolution, movements that completely reshaped and reconfigured society. Right. So if 2020 is what you call the Great Pause, I would say that if you talk about 2021, the World Economic Forum calls it the Great Reset. So we paused, and now it's a reset. It's a reboot for all of us to redo. And after recalibrating, it's all about moving forward. After you press the reset button, right, the engine starts going again. Right, the computer starts booting up. And Klaus Schwab, who's with WEF, says that the pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. Right, something that is a good reminder for most of us here in business. Right, that a narrow window of opportunity to really reflect, reimagine, reset. We've taken a lot from the world. In terms of resources, it's all about now how do we reimagine a future with COVID as a reminder. If you look at the Great Reset, it's all about shaping, and you can actually Google this. This is from the World Economic Forum. It's all about shaping the economic recovery. Many have been affected. How do we step back and now push forward? How do we redesign social contracts, skills, and jobs? How do we restore the health of the environment? How do we develop now more sustainable business models for us? Of course, we have to look at harnessing the fourth industrial revolution, talking about AI, machine learning, robotics. That would be the new starting point for all of the businesses moving forward. How do we also strengthen regional development, partner with all of our other regional counterparts? So it's not about Philippines anymore, right? I think APLI Asia CEO Forum is all about how do we collaborate with our Asian counterparts, and how do we revitalize global cooperation. More and more, because of digital, we are forced and pushed push towards a totally global business. So we can't even say now, even if you're an SME, you're focused on the Philippines or something that's very local. No, we have to look at the world. It's our entire business playbook. And if you look at digital and COVID, it has actually required a paradigm shift for most of us, especially in our organizations. In our workplace, there's a return to form, but not back to normal. But once the health risks have diminished, we will all head back to work, school, malls, churches. How will routines and spending completely bounce back, right? While we start going out again, habits and mindsets formed during the extensive lockdown period may prevail. And at the same time, some groups will find it more difficult to recover. And there is, again, that potential to reimagine the future. The coronavirus has surfaced critical issues that need to be addressed if we want to avoid the same situation as future pandemics rise. One positive from the lockdown was that it gave us an opportunity to truly reset, and we must embrace this and push innovation, especially in various units, no? Healthcare, local housing, mental health, and other issues. So we will see a change from traditional work where people would be thinking of just staying in the office is part of, and it's part of HR mandate, right? It's part of the business to stay at work. Now there's what you call the rise of non-traditional work. So the attitudes will change completely. And at the same time, many are turning to also their side hustles, online work, and even secondhand market. No, they soon realize that even if you are working with a big company, you're not in a way safe. The impact of COVID really showed the vulnerability even of the most established organization. So we're going to see more people really embracing work from home arrangements, no? And many companies may embrace a new role for the office with fewer employees coming in each day. In fact, we have to relook at even how the office will be reconfigured. We even reconfigured our office already. So no one would have their own permanent space. You can be going around. They will have more meetings and boardrooms. The new work week may be just home, and then maybe just 1 or twice a day going to the office. No? So we're going to see more of that becoming a reality. At the same time, a lot of us would be going online to augment their earnings. So people are seeing already that because the business, the organization, no, where they're working will not be secure. They would also try to attempt, no, and to earn something on their own also on the side, what they call the side hustle. No? So side hustling to augment earning. We've seen a lot of, for example, in the ad agency side, a lot of the creative people after working maybe 9 to 6 or 9 to 7, they also go online and also become a multimedia designer servicing other countries. They're also diversifying income streams. They're looking at making a lot of. If you've seen the articles on online stock market, people are investing in cryptocurrency among others. No, so they're diversifying on where they will be earning from. No? And most of the hobbies will also be monetized. So people who are into a bit of cooking, a bit of craft are now using it to sell already, no, so that they will be able to sustain themselves. And there's what we call the hyper e-growth that's happening, all because fueled by what we call the hyper e-growth. We're seeing hyper e-growth in 3 areas: e-commerce, e-services, and e-finance. The last year, e-commerce has actually increased in terms of search. Now, so all of my trends that I'm sharing with you, all come trends from search and from social media. So super apps are expanding from carts to marts. Every super app right now also have what they call a mart category, where they allow you to now purchase groceries on top of just food or transporting people from one to the other. Most of these more established companies who initially thought that a website is not that important versus their off-site, no, or their physical stores, and now we're seeing that having a website may be able to drive. In fact, it has already increased in traffic and drive more of their customers. No? And again, because of COVID and digital, it has become an equalizing effect. Even the big is now requiring themselves to compete head on with the small companies. No? When it comes to e-services, we've seen how this has grown tremendously. Before, teaching or education is something seen that's impossible, especially teaching kids online. But now we have already spent a year where we've seen our entire batch of students have now finished one entire school of online learning. And at the same time, professions like the doctors who would say that that's why they're a doctor, you have to physically see you, now is opening up. And we've seen more and more, in the healthcare category, allowing Zoom or online consultations already. And how is that propelled? It's because of e-finance. Many people are now downloading more and more bank apps, payment wallets, and that is what they pay. No, so in e-services, before you go to the doctor, you pay first, and then that gives you the 15-minute window, right, before you get to see them face to face. But at the same time, we've seen that also challenges, no, because all of these banks, most of the financial institutions, were not ready to keep up. No, I think only now that I think finally they're able to keep up. No, but initially when we were scanning, no, almost every bank were challenged with the maintenance and the upkeep of their mobile app and their websites. So in March 2020, more than a year ago already, no, we've seen the lockdown. Today, we're almost at the end of the hourglass. The sun is almost over. We have to now start what we call mastering our business pivot, or have we made a business pivot? It's not going to be what we call a normal. No, it's not a new normal. No, it's what we call a next normal. It's going to be a new reality coming up around. No, so we have to learn how to make a pivot, shifting without moving away from the core. No, when we're playing basketball, you move up if you move up the court, you're dribbling. When you stop, you can move left, move right, but you cannot lift the other foot, right? Or else that will be traveling. And that's the essence of a pivot. You don't move away from your core, but you look left, you look right, and assess all the other possible opportunities. Because what we're certain of is that what happened with COVID, it's what you call a black swan event. They create lasting change. These are extremely rare events with large impact and potentially severe consequences. In 9/11, we saw stricter aviation security. With World War II, we saw the women joining the workplace. And 2003 in SARS was actually prompted the e-commerce boom in China. So, for example, we've seen how other companies have made their pivot. Like Marriott, I got this from an email. They said that, since you cannot come to our hotel to stay in our hotel, why don't you buy the Marriott bed, or our pillows, linens, beddings, baths, or scents? Right? So who would have thought that a hotel will be selling their beds or baths or scents? We've seen also a lot of the local companies now. Who would have thought that a Jollibee will be selling frozen Chicken Joy, especially during the start of the pandemic, no? Frozen Chicken Joy in most of the supermarkets. Or Potato Corner, where they would dump the fries only when you order because it has to be fresh cooked fries, now sending it to you frozen, right? You buy it frozen and you get to cook it yourself. Or ramen houses where you cannot even take it home. Now, when you're eating there, now you can actually take it home, right? Or who would have thought that a Jollibee can now have a real virtual party via Zoom, right? So we're seeing all of these innovations happening and all of these making a pivot, looking at other business alternatives to sustain their business. Uniqlo, for example, with the AirSIM technology, they made a pivot. Now we're having an AirSIM face mask. Right, so and this actually, when they launched this, was actually a whole line of from the Japanese stores, Tokyo stores, people were lining up just to buy the AirSIM face mask. Right, so again, 2020, right, great pause, great reset. 2021 is all about bouncing back. Right, for us in Family Mart, we started diversifying. We even have our own using our container vans. We're also selling, going around to stores, selling our LPG, selling Family Mart products. So, and this, of course, like what we call. Using our container vans, we're actually opening up more and more outlets using these container vans. Enduron, for example, has gone into purely online learning. If you want to learn how to cook, in fact, we even send you everything, so you don't have to prepare it yourself. Everything is there, even the soy sauce and the vinegar and the salt. Everything is complete. And of course, for us, we've embarked into, for example, online learning. We saw that there's a big growth in online learning. So again, we're seeing this pandemic because of now we have technology as a catalyst, where we set up Luna Academy, which is the future of upskilling. We can actually put most of your Asia CEO courses here and talks. No, so it's we partnered with trade organizations, we've partnered with educational institutions, and now it's like the local Coursera, Filipino courses for Filipinos. And that's why I always ask, what is your COVID story? I hope that this is a time where we look at the quote of Jack Ma, says opportunity lies in where the complaints are, right? And I hope that COVID is also an opportunity for us to look at what kind of business opportunities we can seize. Because as the dust settles now, slowly, we will see maybe hopefully in the fourth quarter, where most of us would have the vaccine, it's all, the gates will be open again and we will now be running. So let me end with my favorite hashtag. While I hope COVID is not forever, the mindset that it has instilled in us, the discipline, how we look at the world, how we look at people will permanently change, right? And hopefully we bring that with us as we move forward to the next normal. So with that, thank you for having me.
Very good. Excellent as usual. Donald Lim. Okay, let's get going with our next speaker is Agnes Gervacio, the CEO of Micro D International, or MDI, known to many people. And this is a leader with many years of experience in the telecom and IT industry. She previously was a high-profile president of NEC Philippines. She was the first Filipino head of that organization here. Also country head for Philippines and Thailand of Asia Global Crossing, a prominent telecom operator. And yes, and now certainly doing good work with MDI. So please welcome Agnes Gervacio of Micro D International. Glad to have you, Agnes, my dear.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Rebecca, for having me here again. Always a pleasure to be part of this. As you know, I have been a longtime partner and a big believer and supporter of Asia CEO Forum. We are partners of top enterprises and the public sector and trusted by world-class leaders in enabling digital transformation and acceleration. We are back for more than 30 years. Actually, now we are on our 34th year of experience in the information technology industry and is a center of excellence for many pillars in the technology field, like cloud, API and microservices, network and security, data and analytics, as well as intelligent edge. As our vision says, we continue to work towards being the partner of choice for blue chips, the leading blue chips, to be their continued partner in digital transformation. It's funny, but now we're in the 17th month of this pandemic. We know that we have to pivot and look at how we go about our usual day-to-day business and pivot very, very quickly. Once upon a time, and I speak as if this were another day and age, as it is anyway, there are decisions that can wait. However, this situation with COVID-19 left us with little or no choice at all. Digital transformation decisions that were taking many months to finalize had to be made much, much faster. We know exactly what the outcome will be if these steps towards digitalization are not made or are delayed any further. But I want to stress that we should not forget what the main and the key ingredient is to all of these, the people. We at MDI Novare has been very, very fortunate that we are made up of teams that are very agile. The technology that we espouse, true to form, with the technology and the processes. The teams have continued to perform at a very high level as they are in tune and in touch to changes, adaptive, flexible, as well as dynamic. We have started operating remote even before the government mandated lockdowns. And this is actually true to form, to our very strong culture and a very strong processes from the hardworking teams of MDI Novare. We continue to aim and work towards being national champions of technology. I am thankful that things are going back to normal. Our population slowly is starting to get vaccinated and hopefully to the level that we need to be at soon. Offices are getting filled again despite a different hybrid arrangement that people are coming up with, and businesses are starting to open their doors. This is the start of a new challenge that we are faced with, and I'm confident that we are ready for this new chapter. My prayer is for the Philippines to be up on its feet again, safety for its citizens, and for all of us, meaningful work to contribute towards this goal. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Thank you very much.
And that was Agnes Gervacio. Thank you again, Agnes, and keep up the fantastic work you are doing. Our next speaker, we're so pleased to have Jishnu Gupta, our global CTO. He runs the global technology operations of Strave, formerly known as SPI Global, and certainly one of the nation's premier tech companies, homegrown. And now, as I mentioned, a true global operation. He manages operations in Philippines, India, as well as the US and UK, as I understand, and upwards of 500 people, technology people, in his group managing these global operations. He has managed operations previously in the banking sector across the UK, US, Russia, Romania, India, on and on. So really pleased to have his insight about everything that is happening today in tech. Please welcome Jishnu Gupta, the CTO of Strive. Glad to have you, my friend. How are you?
Very good. Thanks, Richard, for the introduction. So I'll talk today a little bit about the unstructured data world. And this is a little interesting and very close to Strive's, what we do around in Strive, right? And the unstructured data actually, from an industry perspective, is a little different from what we know as the classic data. It really comes in various sources like PDF, web data, as well as images, videos, and different data point assets, right? And I'll cover three big trends here. One is the evolving landscape of data. The next one is how do we manage unstructured data and some of the challenges as well as opportunities. And finally, our Strive's data platform. So very quickly, let me introduce Strive as well. And Richard, you pointed out it was previously known as SPI Global. Now we have rebranded as Strive, and it's an industry-leading service provider of technology-driven content operations as well as data solutions. Right? And we are organized in three big segments or business segments and verticals. One is data solutions, which really is around financial services, insurance, information provider business. The second one is around EdTech, which is really grown with the pandemic situation with all the virtual learning and digital learning material. And the third vertical is around the research content side, right, which is really around our publishing side of the platform. And as you mentioned, Richard, we are present strongly in Philippines, but we have also a very good presence in India, US, and other countries. So what is happening in the data world? Today, every company we look at can be considered to be a data company. When we go and do banking in the banking world, when you're doing your KYC process or your fraud detection process, it's all around data. When we work in oil and gas companies and the big oil and gas companies, they look at data now to increase their productivity. Similarly, in the education sector, as well as in the healthcare. Now, again, with the pandemic, the healthcare is a very big segment in research and content. It relies hugely on data, on medical data, devices, disease, drugs data, right? To be able to mine all of the data and drive insights from the data. What is happening here is that the unstructured data world is really growing about 65% every year. And from various sources, and this is becoming really an unprecedented growth in the data world. The companies here are also looking not only at data, but how can they drive action from data, right? Insights, analytics, decision-making from data. And we talk a lot about the AI trend and the ML and the analytics trend. Analytics is still nascent here in the industry, and it's really moving towards simplification and industrialization. And finally, the biggest trend and continues to happen is really driving business value, which is the top priority. If I go and look at some of the challenges that we are seeing around unstructured data, one of the most important pieces is that on one side, companies are creating a lot of data lakes, data warehouse, big analytic programs. But at the enterprise level, a lot of the organization data is still remains at the early stages of the pipeline, and it's not processed seamlessly. Right? The second is really the variability in the data quality itself, because we are acquiring data now from multiple sources, whether they be news data, whether they be data from courthouses, or they be data from insurance companies. The variability of the data is huge, right? And the completeness of the data lacks the quality and structure. and it varies between regions, between time, between sources. So that we see is a very big problem in the data quality and its definition and the KPI metrics around it. And this really leads to a lack of common data standards to be able to drive a unified process across industry segments, even regulatory bodies, but also within companies, we see this trend happening. And finally, the overall data processing is still a very manual process by and large, right? Especially around the unstructured data world. And that impacts scalability and cost. So to address some of these challenges around unstructured data, the overall process of maturing the data operations pipeline is what we have thought of, right? And the idea is really to start very simple by defining goals and objectives of what you need within your company as well as within the business operations that you're running. Second is identify the gaps and prioritize them, because the data value chain is really a very big value chain. So to be able to prioritize what is your important needs is an important part of the overall supply chain. The third dimension here is to really create flexibility in your platform and software development ecosystem so that you can easily integrate with other platforms, acquire data seamlessly, and manage the whole data pipeline in a very API seamless integration model. Right? And finally, it's really the whole principle of agile, that is start small, pick up the most important processes that drive business value, learn and repeat the process. Very similar to running a marathon, essentially. Then you don't just start running a marathon. You start with your 5K, 10K, go up to the half marathons, and then really gear up for the marathons. Exactly the same way. And around the AI ML processes, identify which processes are highly valuable to you from a business impact perspective, but also that are struggling through business rules, right? So to pick up those processes that you can drive automation through AI, ML, NLP techniques on the pipeline. And the business approach here is often we tend to tackle the data problem at the later stage. Really focus from a data standardization and standards perspective, really at the forefront of the supply chain. That is the input. And how do you standardize the overall input? Drive the automation across the content acquisition pipeline, right from the as you receive the content, right? And then keep a strong eye on data quality KPI right from the beginning of your program, so that you have the overall governance, data governance framework that is sitting. And then, of course, start building the conversion and the processes engine around automation, and have the flexibility model, as we discussed, to keep it absorbing various data formats as needed, right? To be having a flexible model. And to sum it up, what we have done at Strive is really to bring all of this together of the business problem and challenges, and bring it together in an opportunity in what we call our Strive data platform. It's a proprietary built platform, really an end-to-end solution that goes from content acquisition. We take on various sources, whether they're public web sources, legal court data, regulatory data, internal documents from insurance companies or financial services companies. We take on audio, video, images as assets, and we process through a data pipeline. The platform processes through a data pipeline. And we acquire the data, then we extract the relevant metadata and the information from the data that is required, enrich the data, curate and enrich the data, finally transform the data by removing all the noise, cleaning up, making it seamless, and then we deliver the data back to our clients, or we drive insights and analytics out of the data output. And this is a fully cloud-hosted platform that goes end-to-end into the life cycle, a very scalable platform that cuts across various industries, whether it be real estate, financial services, healthcare industries, right? And that is that's a summary of our data platform that takes up all these data challenges and has, we have orchestrated an end-to-end platform to solve this data problem.
All right, well done, Jishnu. Well, keep up the great work. I know I've watched the Strave / SPI Global story for many years, and it really is an impressive story. So we want to make sure we have more global CTO types like you based here for the foreseeable future. So yeah, so keep up the great work, and really glad to have you part of the event. Okay, everyone, get ready for our next speaker is David Almirol, who I have said many times, he's certainly one of the most prominent tech leaders in the nation. He's CEO of Multisys Technologies. Just a fantastic story of building a successful operation from scratch that is now having a very big impact, both in the private sector and the public sector. Some of the organizations that he is working with to make our government services better is astounding. So please welcome David Almirol, CEO of Multisys Technologies. So glad to have you with you, David.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Richard, and the Asia CEO Forum for having me in today's Tech Summit. I am deeply humbled to be one of your guest speakers today. I'm excited to share my insights on my topic today, purpose-driven IT solutions. There are thousands of software solutions that you can think of or any company can build. And there are millions of ideas that anyone can think of. But Multisys would like to focus on two things. We focus on relevance and we focus on necessity. Time is of the essence and critical decisions must be made. That's why business paranoia can be a good thing to survive and to thrive in this new normal. As the Philippine economy slowly resumed with the easing down of public health regulations and distancing protocols, most Filipino businesses still feel the pain brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. The World Bank conducted a recent survey of more than 74,000 firms across industries in the country, and surprisingly, only 5% of these businesses reopened, while 40% began partial operation. Studies have also suggested that the country remains a starter when it comes to digital transformation. On this Tech Summit, allow me to share our deep passion that drives Multisys to move forward with the intention to help more people uplift their lives through technology. Let me underscore the 7 key sectors that we would like to focus on. Before the pandemic, a lot of businesses were affected since they do a traditional way of doing business. Physically or manually operated businesses were hit badly since people cannot transact physically. Private businesses, government, retail, banks, academia, healthcare institution, and even the entertainment industry. Our goal is not to compete, but rather become a digital economy enabler to these sectors. Providing innovations and a strong simplified foundation will allow our partners to build their own digital play on top of them. That's why we identified 7 digital key sectors. We have e-business, e-commerce, e-government, e-finance, e-learning, e-health, and e-games. Retail stores were badly hit. We have more than 900,000 SMEs, and 400 of them are now dependent on online selling with a very complex payment and delivery processes. We need somehow to provide them an e-commerce platform for them to use and help them stand and do business again through an end-to-end e-commerce platform. One of them might be our Storebox platform. On e-banking, there are more than 500 active banks with 12,000 branches and financial institutions with hundreds of thousands of physical branches. And according to BSP, there are nearly 70 million Filipinos who are making and receiving payments. How can we assist them and somehow help them? That's why we build our Paybox platform. The government was also hit badly. Most of the government transactions were done face-to-face before. paper-based documents, cash-dependent transactions, and manual-based processing. There are dozens of national government agencies and maybe hundreds of commissions and bureaus. We have more than 1,700 local government units with 43,000 barangays. How can we provide ease of doing business to them? Cut red tape and expedite their processes. That's why we build the Smart Government and our Smart City platform. There are more than 1 million registered businesses in the Philippines, and take note, only 4,700 are considered large businesses. That's even less than 1% of the whole business market in the country, meaning most of the businesses cannot afford expensive systems to use. That's why we implement our Stockbox platform. This is a rapid way to develop and deploy simplified websites and mobile applications as their starting point to have their own digital play. On Academe, we have like 2,300 educational institutions like schools, universities, and training centers, not counting other learning centers. That's like 25 million students in a year, according to DepEd. We hope that our Schoolbox platform can help them, even in a very small way. On eHealth, we have like 1,400 hospitals, like 2,500 health centers, and more than 20,000 barangays health stations. This is a priority. We need to provide them a cheap but better alternative system. This is the reason why we develop our HealthBox platform. On entertainment and gaming, we have 43 million gamers and more than 70 million who are in social media and entertainment. That's why we have our own GameBox platform. Our platforms are designed with a purpose-driven IT solution that prioritize the welfare to the people. I always believe that as we help more people, revenue will follow. As we focus on implementing impactful and relevant solutions, we can uplift the lives of Filipinos. As businesses with different strengths, as we collaborate and join forces, I think we can make a big difference. Collaborating with our partners has been a huge contributor to our success ever since, and especially with the pandemic. Without our partners, we will not be where we are today. Before I end my presentation, I'd like to share with you a verse from Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. It says, let us not become tired of doing good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessings if we do not give up. Our situation may be difficult, but with the proper tools and technologies in place, bouncing back from the economy is possible. Once again, thank you, HSCEO. I'm really humbled to be here today, and have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, David Almirol of Multisys. Yeah, great story, and keep up the fantastic work you are doing. Our next speaker, we are so pleased to have him. This is RJ Ledesma, the chairman of Mercato Centrale. And if you are in Philippines, and I'll just describe it for people who aren't, but everybody knows these fantastically successful night food market operations that have been really instrumental in developing many different successful food concepts. So really an entrepreneurial fellow, founded other businesses, Enter PH, that helps companies establish operations in the country, also a big promoter of the franchise industry. So a really interesting and entrepreneurial fellow. Please welcome RJ Ledesma. So glad to have you, RJ.
Richard, thanks so much for having me here on the program. And it's really been such a pleasure having been I just have to say, after I won the award in the Asian CEO Forum, or the Asian CEO Awards, the SMEs, it's been really not just a great badge of honor, but it's really been helpful also in helping me promote the advocacies of the company. As they say in the Philippines, your network is your net worth. So the more that they realize that you're doing a good job and that you are credited for doing a good job, it helps me promote getting more entrepreneurs on board and online. So again, thank you so much to yourself and to Rebecca for the Asia CEO Awards. Feel free to interact with me as I do this presentation, Richard. I really love that if you've got some questions. But then, the overarching theme for what we're talking about is how will the paranoid survive? And I think one of the key things people must realize if you are paranoid about business is that one of the best ways to survive is if you do maintain what we call an entrepreneurial mindset, a perspective on how you see things, right? And it's not just the perspective, but really investing in that mindset as you look at what is the new normal and even what might be the next normal. Now, as I was sharing earlier on with Richard, now sometimes I'm in the position of I'm the guy doing what he does. I'm actually the moderator and speaker for many events. And at the same time, I am an accredited Go Negosyo mentor. And I've had a chance to interview many great entrepreneurs, which include people like Injap Sia of Double Dragon, Dennis Uy, of course, of Phoenix Petroleum, my own business partners, Jose Jomag Magsaysay, and of course, David Almirol of Multisys. And there's a common denominator which I see amongst many of these entrepreneurs, which have helped them survive and thrive amidst this new normal. And this is mindset, an entrepreneurial mindset amidst this paranoia. And I often say that when you have that entrepreneurial mindset, it's like you were mentioning earlier on, I'm somebody who's got 3 different companies which I'm running. Because I think that entrepreneurship is like a muscle memory. You need to exercise it. But when you exercise your muscles, you often tear your muscles, right? But they knit back to become stronger and better at what you do. So that's the great thing about having this entrepreneurial mindset, particularly during this pandemic. You become more resourceful and adaptable. And here's the big thing, which I want to share with many people, especially those who aren't entrepreneurs or need to think like entrepreneurs in their own businesses or for the businesses that they work for. Your job as an entrepreneur is not to judge whether a situation is good or bad. Your job as an entrepreneur right now is to discover the opportunities in good and especially in bad situations just like this one. Now, Richard, I'm sure you're familiar with all the different startup competitions which people hold, right, around the world, or pitching competitions where people ask for investors for their companies. And more often than not, I've seen many of them both as somebody who sits as a host or as a judge. And the biggest question often thrown to many entrepreneurs is this one, especially if you want your business to survive. They ask them, what problem is your business trying to solve? And that's the biggest thing we want to ask people every time when you're putting up a business. What business is your problem trying to solve? Especially during this time of when you need to be paranoid about your business. Because my biggest philosophy when it comes to doing business is this one, or entrepreneurship. That entrepreneurship is all about solving irritations. Your irritation is your inspiration for doing business. Because if I'm irritated by something, and Richard, you are also irritated by the same thing, that's where I make money. If I can solve that, that's where I make money. Now, your job as an entrepreneur basically is to turn all these irritations into what we call business opportunities. And oftentimes, and I think this is the best thing I can share with people, especially when you're paranoid about the current situation and trying to create new ways of doing business. Oftentimes, irritation, paranoia, desperation leads to innovation and can help you create new business models. So let me just share with you some sources of business innovation to help your business survive during these times of the new normal. If you're paranoid about doing business, you might want to take a look at these different sources of business innovation. The first one is called leveraging asymmetric information. What does that just mean? It just means that if you know more about something than other people, that's where you make money. When you go to a stockbroker, he has more knowledge than you. He's got more asymmetrical knowledge about the stock market than you. So you give him money, you pay him money so that he can invest the money for you. The second one, if you're paranoid about doing business right now, you might want to look at borrowing business models from other industries and bringing it into your own. How about bricks versus clicks coverage? This is another way also that we've done. If you're very paranoid right now, is when you start converting things from being from doing business physically to making sure you do business virtually. Digital first thinking just means that nowadays people no longer have to rely on a physical market. And this has happened during this time. If you're really paranoid, you build now a digital model of securing your customers. Now, lastly, there's what we call the market driving versus the market switching strategy, which I think is very key for many businesses. What do you mean by a market switching strategy? For many of us, if you're paranoid about business, right? Some people, the first thing that they rely on is a market switching strategy. Let me give you an example. Richard, you said earlier on that my business is Mercato Centrale, right? So my job is to open up a food market and my clients are food vendors. If I was to apply a market switching strategy, I would try to recruit vendors from other food markets to join me. That's a bit difficult because there's what we call friction costs. They don't want to leave their old organizers because maybe they're very established over there, or there's a fear of reprisal from these vendors. So they don't want to move to me. But what's a market driving strategy? A market driving strategy is when I create new food vendors. I create new entrepreneurs to join me. I don't rely on what's in the market. I create a new market. So I actually made a Mercato Academy where I train potential food entrepreneurs to become professional. And then the first place that they join is my market. That's a market driving strategy. Now, just very briefly, Mercato Central, my irritation when I created that one was that, I was so enamored by the night food markets of Asia when I would be sent there as a writer in Singapore, in Thailand, in Taiwan. And I said, why don't we have an equivalent of a night food market here in the Philippines where foreigners and locals could converge despite the fact that, we have a large call center community who eat dinner or eat lunch at 11 p.m. I'm sure these people want an affordable home-cooked meal versus a convenience store meal at 11 p.m. at night. And that was one of the key inspirations for us to create the market. The second one was also the Mercato Centrale in Florence, Italy. That's where we got the name from, Mercato Centrale in Florence, where I honeymooned with my wife. We began the market as a morning market in November 2010, and we quickly pivoted the market and right before the pandemic, we were a thriving night food market with about 100 food vendors in 3 locations all over Metro Manila. And just very briefly, this is my proudest award. I won the Asia CEO Awards for SME Company of the Year. And I was also asked by Go Negosyo to be a partner for them to help incubate microfood entrepreneurs. But this is the thing, and this is the thing about paranoia, right? None of us can be complacent about doing business nowadays. We all need to be paranoid. And why is that? Because disruption in business is the new normal. And in particular, disruption is, how does when the usual way that things happen gets disrupted, right? Disruption in business just means that there is a disruptive innovation that occurs. And a disruptive innovation just means that a new market or value network will disrupt an old market and value network. And depending on which hat you're wearing or what side you're sitting on, these disruptive innovations tend to be produced by outsiders and entrepreneurs. They aren't done by the large companies. Now, the thing is, in this situation right now that we're experiencing in the new normal, previous to that one, we were being disrupted by technology, which disrupted our businesses. Right now, we are being disrupted by a pandemic. But guess what, Richard? The entrepreneurial mindset is still the same, whether you are being disrupted by technology or by the pandemic. In fact, in Chinese, there's a term that says Wei Ji. Wei Ji just means that, Wei, it says that there's crisis. That character means crisis. But Chi is opportunity. So in crisis, there is still an opportunity for you to create business. When you are paranoid, you actually are able to find ways to create new businesses. So what do? How do you react to disruption, especially right now? How do you react to disruption when your business is being disrupted by something like this pandemic? Well, simple. You just disrupt yourself again. You take a look at the new pain points people have of your business and try to address them. Or you look at other people's businesses and see what pain points people are experiencing of theirs right now, and you disrupt those businesses. So just to close things off, there's a point I often say, innovate or die, because you are problematic about the whole situation. So let me just give you the last example, and I'm very proud to talk about this one because he's with me on the panel as well, my friend and business partner, David Almirol. Now, in this crisis, Richard, we are an outdoor food market, like you said earlier on. And when the pandemic hit, we were one of the first places that were shut down because we were a place of mass gathering. So all of a sudden, I was desperate. I was paranoid. I didn't know what to do with the business. So we had to relook what our business was all about. And we realized that what our business was all about was, our why was that we were helping to incubate small food businesses. And we realized that our job was possible to be done brick and mortar, but it could also be done digitally. But now, if we were to do Mercato digitally, how could we still serve our small food businesses? How could we still continue our advocacy? How can we continue to incubate those businesses? We needed to create, in my mind, we had to create an app that would help serve all these small home kitchens, those that are not served currently right now by third-party delivery providers, right? We said, if we serve all these small food vendors, we're helping provide an advocacy for them to grow their business, and we still maintain what Mercato is all about, helping serve small food entrepreneurs. And the way we could do that is through digital transformation of the business. So we moved from just being right now a Mercato, which is a physical market, to become a Mercato app, where we are able to serve more food entrepreneurs and serve more customers at the same time. And very soon, you'll get to see the Mercato app. That's mercato.group. You can check that out online. And that's basically it. The more paranoid that you are, the more problems arise. And when you're able to address those problems, turn those irritations into business opportunities, that's where you will make money. Again, thank you so much to the Asia CEO Forum for this opportunity. Back to you, Richard.
Fantastic story. RJ, a lot of passion and a lot of enthusiasm. Really, really good information for everybody. Go to our next speaker is Gail Macapagal, the country head of DynaQuest Technology Services. And this is one of these, it's nice to see these entrepreneurial companies run by entrepreneurial people growing fast and doing a lot of interesting things. One of their areas of focus is blockchain solutions, but she herself started as a call center agent and built her career from scratch. So really pleased to see her in action today. So please welcome Gail Macapagal of DynaQuest. Glad to have you, Gail.
Thank you, Richard, for the very nice introduction. Good day to everyone who are watching the Asia Tech Forum 2021. Thank you, Richard and Rebecca, for the invite. Thank you to everyone who are watching us from around the globe. Today, I would like to talk about and present the rapid shift of business and the economy to digital, or most commonly referred to as digital transformation. Among the silver lining of the pandemic is that it has rapidly shifted the way we transact and do business from the traditional transaction wherein one has to go to a physical store to purchase an item to the digital side. People are buying more than ever online. Online payments and digital banking are more accessible now compared to the pre-pandemic years. With the pandemic, businesses and commerce have accelerated our shift to digital. The global e-commerce industry have jumped to $26.7 trillion in just the span of a year. As the world is in a stage of economic recovery, digitalization of business processes and transaction allow for a more effective and cost-efficient way to do business moving forward. A little bit of history. Technology has helped society evolve to the standards we know today, but it happened across centuries. From stone and metal technology as early as 50,000 BC to the contemporary times, it wasn't until the middle of the 1800s that we saw technology employed to power revolution. It only took 100 years from the 1890s to the 1990s for the world to be living in an information age. Right now, we are in the early stages of our automation, artificial intelligence, robotic, blockchain, and other infrastructures. The adoption of technology and its mass implementation is getting shorter and shorter and getting faster. Technology is transforming consumers, small to medium enterprises, and large businesses across the globe. E-commerce and mobile commerce are experiencing massive growth year by year, accelerated further by the pandemic. 4 of 5 consumers today all own a mobile phone and are likely to shop online through apps. The small to medium business industry is also experiencing a technological transformation, as many are taking their services online with e-commerce and are offering new ways for consumers to transact via online payments and cross-payment options. Big businesses are exploring blockchain transformation as a way to optimize and achieve new levels of efficiency. Mobile commerce is projected to reach $432 billion by 2022, according to Statista. IDW predicts that the digital economy will deliver 65% of global GDP digitalized by 2020 to drive over $6 to $8 trillion in direct investments. PricewaterhouseCoopers predicted that to boost global GDP by $1.76 trillion, which is 1.4% of global GDP by 2030. When it comes to blockchain, the banking and finance industry are leading the category in terms of adoption and use case making. Blockchain can save them billions annually from the cost of transaction and the efficiency of directing transactions seamlessly. As you can see, blockchain is a multi-industry and a multi-economic agent of transformation, with 30% of adoption in banking and finance, 13% in government and public goods, 12% in insurance, 8% in healthcare, 8% media, entertainment, and gaming, 6% in technology services, 4% professional services, 3% energy and utilities, 3% manufacturing, and 7% others. One of our projects is the Caraga Convergence Initiative. It is a pilot program for the indigenous people in the Caraga region, Region 13 in Mindanao. So imagine that you were born in one of the tribes and you do not have access to have a birth certificate the same way as your parents and grandparents before you. If you do not have a birth certificate, it means you are not counted as a citizen of the Philippines. This also means that you cannot go to school because one of the primary requirements is a birth certificate. Number 2, you cannot have access to health care. Number 3, you cannot vote and make yourself be heard as part of the economy or as part of the country. And most of all, you are exploited as a farmer because you sell your crops at a very low price, and the middlemen and the businessmen are the one raking in the profits. What we want to do, with the help of our partners and the government, is to provide first a digital identity for our indigenous people to start in the Caraga region and then to move to the rest of the Philippines. That could be a model for other countries as well who have indigenous people in their countries like Vietnam or Cambodia. We also want them to have a digital economy so that they freely trade and sell without the need of any middlemen, and that they may get all the profit that they deserve, and they can live freely to vote, to study, to have access to healthcare, and to other government benefits. You may read more about our project on Facebook. Please search for the Caraga Convergence Initiative FB page. Our immediate future is increasingly going digital, and as early as today, businesses, startups, and executives must envision a digital transformation strategy in order for them to move ahead with the times and discover new opportunity in the digital economy of the future. Once again, this is Gail Cruz Macapagal, Country Director of DynaQuest Technology Services Incorporated. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.
All right. Thank you very much, Gail Macapagal of DynaQuest. And yeah, keep up the great work you're doing promoting the blockchain industry and opportunities in the nation. Thank you, Gail. We'll move to our next speaker is Andres Ortola, the General Manager of Microsoft Philippines. And he is always a good speaker. We've had him before, and a heck of a nice guy. And he's really doing a lot to accelerate the digital transformation in the Philippines. Previously, he led businesses for Microsoft in Singapore. He's originally from Argentina. So he's worked across South America, the Middle East, and now Asia. So a lot of breadth of experience and depth. So please welcome Andres Otola of Microsoft Philippines. So glad to have you, Andres.
Hi, thank you for having us. There is no question we're going through one of the most challenging moments in modern history. The past year, while heartbreaking in many ways, has acted as catalyst and the beginning of an era of rapid change. We're going through the greatest structural transformation in our economy, perhaps in a generation. But we believe there is no going back to the digital adoption levels of 2 years ago. There is only moving forward. And as such, every company will need to be a technology company in their own right. Building digital capabilities, it's no longer an option. It should be part of the core of every organization's strategy moving forward. We at Microsoft are building the foundational building blocks for organizations to thrive in this new era of digitalization. We're investing in what our customers are telling us they need. Let me take you through some of these latest innovations we have introduced. Let me start from the cloud infrastructure. Coming out of this pandemic, one thing is clear to us. Every organization is going to need more ubiquitous and decentralized computing power. We have the largest footprint with 60 regions around the world, and we're investing heavily in eco-friendly data centers to ensure we keep the balance between innovation and sustainability. Our mission is to foster foundational innovation that will create entire ecosystems where our customers and our partners can build and innovate. This is what our cloud uniquely enables and is intentionally built for. As we move forward, there is a new platform layer being created as digital and physical worlds converge. The enterprise metaverse. This platform layers brings together IoT, digital twins, and mixed reality. The digital twin is bound to the physical one, so it can be monitored in real time, but also can be analyzed and can run simulations on potential changes and future states. Think about what this could mean for manufacturing lines or building management, for example. We have launched earlier this year our Microsoft Cloud for Industries, presenting a wide arrangement of industry and cross-industry solutions that will help organizations improve time to value, lower cost, and increase agility. Next is data and data sovereignty. It is the most strategic asset for every organization. Every business needs to become digitally sovereign over their own data. We're generating data faster than we are able to understand it. For finance and retail, manufacturing, and genomics, petabytes of data are being collected and processed every day. In fact, the amount of data created over the next 3 years will be more than the data that was created over the last 30 years. But too much of this data isn't really understood. It's relegated to internal and external silos. In such a data-rich world, data governance becomes mission critical. Every organization now has the urgent need and the opportunity to ensure their own data is being used for their benefit. Too many digital aggregators today work on sophisticated dynamic pricing and bundling strategies, but they end up taking your data and charging you back to reach your own customers. Going forward, every business will need to reimagine the entirety of its customer experience. This requires a 360-degree view of customers with the ability to turn insights into actions in real time. Next is hybrid work. It represents the biggest challenge to the way we work and perhaps the largest change since the adoption of the 9-to-5 workday over a century ago. It will require a new operating model. The way we look at productivity today will have to evolve into a combination of results, collaboration, learning, well-being, Our research shows that 73% of our employees want more options to work remotely, but at the same time, 67% want more in-person collaboration post-pandemic. This is the hybrid work paradox that every leader will have to face. Prepare for full flexible work scenarios across all business functions. Now more than ever, it's critical that organizations continue to foster capital to keep employees connected. Knowledge capital, ensuring learning ways happen in the context of your work, and human capital, balancing the short-term output with employee well-being. Customers are also pushing us and driving us hard and driving hybrid work scenarios and new customer experiences. In healthcare, telehealth is now the expectation of patients all over the world, with 50 times increase compared to pre-pandemic scenarios. In manufacturing, nearly all industrial companies are investing in digital factories to enable lights-out manufacturing. In retail, consumers are rapidly changing, giving rise to new models like curbside pickup and contactless shopping. All of this needs to be done with flexibility when, where, and how people work. Hybrid work represents an enormous opportunity for all of you, as every organization needs digital solutions to keep their people connected and thriving whatever they work from. Last but not least, I want to touch on trust and security. The threat landscape has never been more complex or challenging. We intercepted and thwarted a record 30 billion email threats and 31 billion authentication attacks last year only. And we're currently tracking 40 plus active nation-state actors and over 140 threat groups. It is becoming a serious threat and a serious issue we need to address. Our ambition is to help every organization adopt a zero trust architecture, while also reducing the complexity, cost, and risk created by stitching many solutions to preserve that security. All of this must be underpinned by trust. Technology is so integral to our lives, in our society, in our economy, that when it breaks, it's not just about one technology breaking or one company breaking. It impacts us all, and trust goes at the very, very heart of that. I want to finish with this notion of digital optimism. It is an idea that comes from the basis of having deep empathy for what has been, as well as having hope for what it will be. Whether we recognize it or not, we have been training for this. We have been building skills at scale, readying ourselves for the future. We've been building capabilities, whether we've taken the time to notice them or not. We brought the innovation and agility to every circumstance and powered through it. And while we're not sure about what are the challenges we might be facing in the future, we can be sure that digital technologies will be the key to an even greater resiliency. Thank you for your time.
Okay, that was Andres Ortola. Thank you, Andres. That was interesting material, as always. And keep up the great work you are doing at Microsoft. Thanks again. Okay, a bit of a highlight of the show is our next speaker, Dong Dantes. I know we've seen him over the years playing in movies, performing, hosting, acting, and really a high-profile fellow. And I was really surprised and impressed to know that he's also a tech entrepreneur and really doing a lot with his platform called Ding Dong. And really a big scale contributor to the nation. He's a reservist with the Philippine Navy with a rank of major. So this is no small commitment. This isn't just a just a sideshow. This is something that really takes a lot of commitment and contribution to the nation. Founder and chairman of Yes Pinoy Foundation, and also served as commissioner at large of the National Youth Commission. So really a pleasure. And, an honor is an overused word and certainly, but it is certainly a word that is applicable in this case. So really pleased to have Dong Dantes as our next speaker. Glad to have you, Dong, and welcome.
Hello, Richard. Hi. Good day to everyone. I hope that everyone's safe and healthy as we speak. All right. Okay. Thank you again, Richard. I am very, very excited and happy to be here and to be sharing with you the story, behind Ding Dong PH, as you mentioned a while ago. But more importantly, I would like to share with you these 3 stories, which I believe will easily introduce and define Ding Dong as a startup and as a brand, and also, more importantly, as a team. So when we officially started amid the pandemic around this time last year, yes, July, I held on to these 3 powerful words, and they are deliver, enable, and empower. All right, so let's talk about deliver as a word which inspires us. So taking inspiration from the deliveries I made for my wife's flower business in 2019, our primary intent was to simply launch the Ding Dong delivery. However, in my 12 years of experience in partnering with communities through the Yes Pinoy Foundation, we cannot just turn a blind eye without the current struggles that many of our fellow Filipinos are now facing. That's why we decided to provide the education to livelihood opportunities, especially to those whose jobs were affected by the COVID-19 crisis. We started with a rider group in the media and the entertainment industry, and then slowly we reached out to other communities. So Kaloy here, si Kaloy, he's a father of 3 and a former art director at GMA7. Second would be Claire. Claire, she's a single mom and a former security guard. And third, Raymart. Okay, Raymart, he's a father of 2 and a former dancer. With their optimistic attitude and excellent work performance, they have become our full-fledged, full-time Ding Dong riders. There you go. And this, wow, you can see those pictures. This opportunity did not only lead us to delivering food, not only just goods, but it also delivered hope and more importantly, transformation. As mentioned a while ago, home-based businesses, they flourished. And MSMEs bravely pivoted online. In fact, my mother, she's the one in the picture, whom we lovingly call Mamata. Mamata. She's also one of those people who were inspired to share their recipe to other homes. Another example, a longtime friend in the entertainment industry, his name is Neil Sese. He was also able to bounce back by focusing on his seafood business, delivering straight at your doorstep. Hence the name Ding Dong. And even established restaurants, such as Mesa, was able to continue sustaining jobs by responding to the needs of the market. So these hopeful signs and inspiring stories have motivated us to enable entrepreneurs towards becoming more adaptive, more resilient, and agile. And at the helm of our tech development is Filipino software giant Multisys, and we partnered with them to create the Ding Dong e-commerce, the Ding Dong marketplace, and the Ding Dong delivery. Yeah, all these 3 products, all of which are user-friendly platforms to help simplify and future-proof vendor operations. So quickly, Ding Dong e-commerce will enable Mamata, my mom's business, to create her own online store as she scales her business. Ding Dong Marketplace will enable K&G Seafood of Neil Sese to expand its digital footprint and the sales through our end-to-end web and app-based platform. And Ding Dong Delivery will enable brands kagaya ng Mesa to integrate our last mile delivery solution. So this is all of them, no? This is so that all of them can continue to do their best while we take care of the rest. Yeah. And finally, as we deliver and enable our partners, our real goal is to empower them by placing empathy at the heart and core of human-centric technology and innovation. And we kick it off by empowering our team first with the highest standard of, we call it professional malasakit and value for excellence. Our partner Ding Dong Riders, they undergo a professionalization and developmental program, no, that will equip and prepare them to be a premium delivery service that goes above and beyond our logistics expectations. And we intend to do this by putting our utmost care and attention in handling and delivering our partners' package, treating them as if it were our own. And running the engine and the back office are highly capable leaders of their respective fields, from the creative industry, from e-commerce, there's technology law, rider training and management, to development work with Pebbles here also, among many others. No? And we are also supported by a valuable pool of talents whose dedication to learn and serve are second to none. So, ayan po, this is who and what Ding Dong is all about in a nutshell. We are your reliable partner that helps deliver relevant, innovative solutions designed to enable and empower individuals, not just individuals, but of course also businesses, and more importantly, communities. And lastly, we champion a brand of leadership that enshrines the professional malasakit and excellence in all that we do and everything that we offer, so that we can continue to deliver, enable, and empower. So just ring it and we'll bring it. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Richard.
So fantastic work, Dong, and thank you very much for speaking with us today. Close off the event, we have a very special guest, what I call former Senator Gregorio Honasan, now the current Secretary of the Department of Information and Communications Technology, DICT. And it's so interesting that this is a very high-profile character. People in Philippines, if you're not from Philippines, know this fellow, Gringo Honasan. He has been in the spotlight for many, many years. And it's so interesting that he took on the DICT secretary post. Clearly, there is something that he really believes in the technology future of the nation. So, with our keynote address of the event, please welcome Secretary Gringo Honasan of DICT. So glad to have you, Secretary.
Mr. Richard Mills, Chairman, Asia CEO Events. Mr. Arturo Quinto, Group Technology Officer, Magsaysay Incorporated. Ms. Agnes Gervacio, CEO, MicroD International. Mr. Jeremy Han, Scaling Up Coach, Gazelles International. Mr. David Almirol, CEO, Multisys Technologies. Mr. RJ Ledesma, Chairman, Mercato, Centrale. Ms. Gail Macapagal, Country Director, DynaQuest Technology Services. Mr. Andres Ortola, General Manager, Microsoft Philippines. Mr. Jose Sixto Rafael Ding Dong Gonzalez, Dantes III. And to our distinguished guests, fellow speakers, partners, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good day to all. Allow me this opportunity to offer particular thanks to the organizers for hosting this conference and allowing me to deliver today's keynote message. As we speak, technological developments are unfolding at a rapid pace. These developments were also accelerated by the public health emergency, requiring various sectors and industries to go digital for survival and continuity. The rapid adoption of digital technologies characterized our new normal, while also posing a challenge for us in the public sector to ensure that no one is left behind. This challenge is focused on how the government can help maximize developments brought about by accelerated digital transformation. It starts with acknowledging that digital transformation is real and is already here. And the sooner we can leverage it, the sooner we can apply its benefits for the collective good. To this end, the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, fully supports discussions on emerging and innovative technologies, as we are keenly aware of their potential to advance the national ICT agenda. This increased focus on digital transformation has been the hallmark of the DICT for the past 2 years, since I assumed office as ICT Chief. In fact, we recently concluded our own virtual 2-part forum entitled The Future of the ICT Industry in the Country, where we have gathered industry leaders and frontrunners to talk about emerging trends, barriers, and the future direction of the Philippine ICT landscape. The event also served as a consultative gathering to brief our partners on our newly launched Connect, Harness, Innovate, and Protect, or CHIP conceptual framework, launched last June 9, 2021. The framework outlines our restructured programs, projects, and initiatives to better prepare our country for participation in the global digital economy. The first component, Connect, is about building the digital infrastructure of the country to establish and strengthen the foundation of digital transformation. The next driver, Harness, focuses on devoting resources towards digital education, skills, and jobs to help Filipino educators, learners, and workers advance in the digital economy. The third component, Innovate, emphasizes the need for continuous modernization of government and business services to become efficient, accessible, and digital. And finally, the fourth and last key driver, Protect, shall ensure protection and mitigation of possible risks encountered as we transition to a digitally enabled economy. Our intensified and restructured initiatives under the CHIP framework shall guide us in keeping up with the pace of digital transformation. These medium to long-term efforts will combine to assist all sectors of society, not just to recover from the impacts of the pandemic, but more importantly, to thrive in the new normal. Technological forums such as this are vital as we are given a platform to discuss and brainstorm ideas on how we can respond to the challenges of the future. For our part, the DICT shall continually improve our programs and initiatives to accurately reflect the needs and demands of the changing times. With that, we fully support Asia CEO Events and its mission of highlighting the dramatic shift of all enterprises to digital technologies. I hope that such events will raise our awareness about digital transformation and inspire productive action. I also hope that this forum series will help various stakeholders learn more about the critical factors that are crucial to achieving success in the global digital economy. I am confident this forum will serve not only as a platform for raising awareness on information and communications technologies, but also as a venue for new insights to grow and prosper. All of these efforts are driven by our vision of a digital Philippines where our most precious and strategic resource, our next generation of citizens and leaders, our children, can thrive. I wish everyone a successful and fruitful event. Thank you and mabuhay.
Thank you very much, Secretary Gringo Honasan, and so pleased to have you as Secretary of DICT. You are really bringing a lot of spotlight and celebrity status, I would say, to the information and communications technology sector of the nation. So thank you again, Secretary Gringo. Okay, this is the most engaging part of the event in all cases. So we're really pleased to have a bunch of, I don't know, I've used the word high flyer a lot for a number of our speakers, but it's true. We do have a lot of very impressive people and good stories. So maybe if we could start off just with a generic question, but COVID is still on everyone's mind. So, but it has been key to really accentuating this tech future that we are in. So everybody, how has technology changed the way you personally has worked and changed your life? Who'd like to go first? Well, maybe RJ Ledesma, because he had to really pivot his physical business to one that's more virtual. RJ, how did it all change you and your life?
Well, thanks so much for asking me, Richard. It's perfect also that I'm in the same panel with Dave Almirol, because my answer will dovetail to me working together with our good friends from Multisys. And what we realized, what our business was about incubating small food businesses, helping them grow and become large. And we were doing that through a brick and mortar setting, right? So that's story number one. Story number two, very interesting, because Don Lim is over here. And I had a chance many times to speak with the CEO of the president, rather, of Phoenix Petroleum, who is Bong Fadilion. This is the best advice I got from Bong Fadilion. He said to me, at the height of the pandemic, he was telling me, RJ, try to put up your business, try to run your business in the midst of this pandemic. And I was going, how can I run my business in the midst of this pandemic when everything is closed? He said, you've got to do it, because now is the new normal. You will make mistakes along the way, that is for sure. But you've got to recondition yourself, because it's a new normal. Things will be totally different. So you've got to keep on iterating, understanding how this business is done during the new normal. And eventually what we did is we transitioned it to doing something online. We tried initially different online models. And we realized that the best online model was something where we could work with somebody who is what I would call a master of skill, which is David Almirol and Multisys. Why? What we realized is that the digital transformation of the business was to say, we could still be a small food business incubator, but instead of doing that physically, we could now do that digitally. So perfect. What we realized in this pandemic is we could still do our start with our why, but we pivoted, understanding how using digital transformation or technology could transform the business. And I dare say right now that us transforming from being just a brick and mortar to eventually becoming a online app called together with Dave, called the Mercato app. No, it's called, you can go right now, mercato.group, and check it out here online. We're able to actually serve more businesses than before. Hopefully, out of this crisis, the Mercato app, together with Multisys and Mercato Centrale, will become a sustainable billion-dollar business. And with the help of Jeremy Han, we will scale that to the rest of the region.
All right, RJ, lots of enthusiasm. That was very good. Maybe a little bit long. I don't know if we have room for everybody to go with as much information, but that was really exciting. Donald, RJ talked about you a bit. What can you tell us about how things changed for you?
I don't mind listening to RJ all day, actually.
I agree.
That goes the same for me.
I think from my end, it's really, if you look at it from a conglomerate perspective, well, number one, if you look at the same as RJ, we have Conti's, we have Wendy's, we have Phoenix, and overnight you realize no customers are going to your store. Enderon, no students, right? And then for us in Dito, for the telco company, you can't even set up towers, and we have legal mandates by the government to continue to set up how many towers, to have how much coverage. So you really just have to decide, do you sacrifice the health of your people versus hitting certain business targets, right? So it becomes a business and a people balance, no? But at the same time, we just push forward, right? Making sure that people are safe. You have to just change everything. The entire structure of the company. You have to look at also how you look at your business. So we're going to, like what RJ said, our retail is going more and more to the customer rather than waiting for them to come to us. For constructing towers, we have our infrastructure. I mean, we're setting all of those up also. I mean, PLDT Smart is setting up more infra also. We take this opportunity because of our president's mandate to access more people, especially now. right? Especially now because we are now so much anchored on technology. I think the learning here is that it's a good time to revisit all of us. No, look, get from internally, right? Look at how we have that mindset and that resilience to move forward. The first 6 months was bad, but I think after the next 6 months, moving to this year, and hopefully by end of this year, hopefully everything will be a bit better. No, in fact, a bit better than what used to be, because we were able to reflect upon ourselves. No, like what RJ said, who we really are, what we should be doing, how can we help our country.
Good, very inspiring. Donald Lim, a lot of different divisions for him to look after. Arturo Quinto Jr., many different subsidiaries in his large multinational company. How about you, Arturo?
Actually, we're doing a lot of digital transformation in the midst of the pandemic. So if David Almirol doesn't stop hiring all the tech professionals nationwide, we'll run out of these talented IT professionals. But it's really true. During the pandemic, we're hiring tech professionals. Would you believe that? So we're really ramping up. There's a lot of tasks that needs to be done. It's a race. Actually, we're really in a marathon of who can establish the best digital transformation right away.
Okay, very good. What do you see as the biggest change? I don't know, one or two changes you can see for either your business or industry for the future. Jeremy, what do you think? What do you see with all the companies you're working with? What are some of the biggest changes they're going to have for the future?
Thank you, Richard. I really think that the biggest change we're going to see is in the terms of the people that we have, because I think there's two parts to this. One is people themselves need to change if we are going to power the transformation. The digital transformation requires a totally new way of thinking about a business and a totally new set of skills. So I think the biggest change we're going to see is really in the workforce. And it's not just how do you get people to work, but also how do you get people to think, right? And I think this is also interesting because coming from the education and consulting industry, we talk a lot to educators and we talk a lot to thought leaders. And the number one question that people are all trying to figure out is how do we accelerate the way we get people to change the way they think about digital and about the new model and the new business model. And like what Nico said, the phygital world, right? So many people just find it hard to say that, how do I make that change? And I think this is going to be the biggest opportunity for us to see transformation in organizations.
Okay, very good, Jeremy. Yeah, Nico, you talked about this phygital thing, and that is so interesting because I think everybody, including us with events, it seems like our world will become a phygital one. So can you maybe explain a bit more about that, or what else would you have to say to talk about your future that you're seeing with your customers?
Well, one thing exciting we're seeing is that when you talk about a phygital world, even I get mixed up on that, a phygital world, there's a lot that has to happen and a lot of transformation that has to take place to make it work. So it's not just about technology. I think a big part of making phygital work would also be about processes, about mindsets of people, and implementing that technology properly. To complete that equation on phygital, automation, especially at the back end, is quite important. Because when you talk about phygital, it's really three ends. The front end, the physical, the digital interface with the user, the back end, the inventory systems, the way the company operates, and the far end, meaning your partnership ecosystem that will help you deliver that service. So I agree so much with what the other panelists have been saying. It's not really about doing it alone. It's really being able to transform your own operation and being able to partner with the right organizations to make the entire experience seamless for users.
Gail, what do you think?
Well, I really love the fact that we focus on people, processes, collaboration, ecosystems. But I think one of the many things that we have to look forward to in the future is blockchain. Okay, so one of the major pharma companies in the Philippines who brought in vaccines are actually using blockchain to monitor the arrival of the vaccines, where it will go to, how long it will last, and if a person have been vaccinated already. So everything is in the blockchain.
That's true. It is an exciting technology. People are now talking in the world about recovery. Philippines, we're improving, but we still got a ways to go. But other countries are actually using that word. David Almirol, people are talking good things about you. What do you see with all the different sectors that you are involved with? Some are soaring ahead, some are going to have more difficulty. What do you see?
To be honest, if we talk about recovery, it's really hard to like hope for an auto recovery mode, right? There's no such thing. I think everyone should have that tool for that recovery. In my own opinion, technology nowadays is a tool for that recovery. That's why everyone is trying to build their own digital play. Everyone is talking about how will I survive in the new normal. We cannot just sit down and hope that I'll have an auto recovery of my business. We cannot do that, right? But that's why everyone is trying to have their own digital play. But again, it's not easy. You know, sometimes that's why in Multisys, I always look at a partner that, hey, you have something, I want to use it. I don't want to repeat what you have done. You know, if I have something, if you think I'm vital to your operation, you use it. Instead of you repeating what has been done, or else we're going to waste a lot of time and the auto recovery will be elongated, right? I think look for the right partner is very important. That's why we partnered with PLDT, Donald. We also partnered with a lot of things on fintech, and we also partnered with RJ because he has this know-how on how to manage both physical and digital. And then he guided us how to build an end-to-end solution for that particular field. I think creating the solution and launching is just the first step here, Richard. And now the main priority here is how to sustain it. I think sustainability is very important nowadays. And then diversification is also a unique way how to make that recovery become efficient. Diversification is very important because creating business, you have to create a business that is more, let's call it diversified, to produce more revenue drivers. Partnership is actually an opportunity. That's why I think looking for more partnership will open more doors of opportunity and revenue drivers as part of recovery nowadays, Richard.
Very good, David. Agnes Gervacio, you want to be the final bit of wisdom here. Agnes, what can you tell us that's going to really inspire us?
I'm very grateful that I found myself in this space, the tech space, during this pandemic. And I think the other speakers in this forum are thinking of the same thing if they're in the tech field. I'm also very fortunate. I'm also very grateful that despite the fact that some of us are having difficulty, we're pivoting towards recovery. It's not an easy thing to do. And I always think about it in terms of people, how it affects people. There was one discussion that I was in, and they were saying that working from home is actually is something not for everybody. For some people, it's actually a big deal because not everyone has the space to conduct Zoom meetings from. Not everyone has the space to be able to have a separate meeting coming from a very, very small household. So again, I'm very grateful about that. There's a lot to do for us here in the space that we're all in. And I'm happy to hear the words co-opetition over and over again. And I want to stress again, it's not about being better than the other guy. It's about being able to deliver what is needed the most at this point in time. Thank you very much, Richard.
Thanks, Agnes. Yeah, co-opetition and fidgety, or what was that? Fidgetal? Is that the right word? That was my favorite word for this event. Really good information, and keep up the great work everybody's doing. It's really exciting. We've got a very diverse group of very exciting different industries and sectors you're involved with. So we wish you all very well for the future. And thanks again for joining Asia Tech Forum 2021. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of Asia Tech Forum 2021. That was a very engaging presentations and Q&A session. So I hope everyone's learned something, and really we got to implement it into our businesses and our organizations and our careers. We want to be part of this technology future, and we have to be. So thanks again. And that was Asia Tech Forum 2021.